Alright, we're actually going to begin with this big box, because it feels like there's almost nothing in it, which makes me think that it was a giant box chosen to have a singular DVD in it, or something crazy like that. I'm also not sure. Oh, there was another one in here. 2 Blu-rays. And then we have this big package. Alright, let's see. Sorry. Accidentally hit the keyboard, so some things are weird on the TV. Let's just do that. And to begin, we have Belle. This is on 4K. I didn't know if I really needed it or not, but I decided, what the hey. I'm trying to think where in here it says that, though. Not that I have a 4K Blu-ray player, but I just kind of figured, whatever, I might as well. That's cute. Feature film. I don't know, maybe one of those symbols. Bonus features here, that's Blu-ray, and okay, it's up there, Ultra HD Blu-ray. So there you go. Decided to go ahead and get this, because why not? I got a little booklet, which I was holding upside down. Let's see, we have a poster, it feels like. Go. So that's upside down. Put this in there, and this has some art cards. Sing. Justice. Who is? Very strange assortment of imagery. Presumably, legitimately all related to the anime in some way, but that just means I have absolutely no idea what even is. Next up, we have, suppose a kid from the Last Dungeon moved to a starter town. Limited edition. You see here, regions A and B, English dub. This is a limited edition. This is limited edition stuff, so let's look at this shiny box first. I remember stuff about this somewhat fondly. Something's off. It would make me maybe not super eager to rewatch it, but maybe not against the idea of watching it, so I'm trying to remember what all that was. Blu-ray 1, Blu-ray 2, DVD 1, DVD 2. So this is a Blu-ray DVD thing. Good. Got a little booklet. Some character design, some artwork. Some of which we've already seen on this thing itself. There we go. I was not wanting to get in there. And Under here we have a card decal washi tape, 6 bookmarks, and 4 art cards. Bookmarks. So this is the tape. Interesting. I'm feeling the inside there is really sticky. This is the card decal. These are the art cards. And here's the bookmarks. I think these bookmarks are a little more unique. Like, this artwork doesn't appear to be as plastered all over the DVD itself. Next up we have Sonny Boy. It's a region A and B, 12 episodes, English dub. A world governed by the absurd. Intriguing. The plastic's already part up there. But there, that came off in one clean sweep. Disc 1, Disc 2. Alright, next up we have Planet with the complete series. Okay. Not that I entirely know what all's in here. There's some neat looking stuff. Losing your memory is hard. Right, fighting aliens is harder. Okay, very intriguing. That's Japanese with English subtitles. 12 episodes on one disc. There's our one disc. And yeah, this one's kind of giving me a little nostalgic of certain, maybe not super popular stuff that wasn't necessarily not mainstream, but I don't know. Anyways, Lupin the Third vs. Conan the Special on Blu-ray. On the back, I see English dub, Japanese dub. Interesting. Not a reversible cover. And I'm guessing if I got this on DVD before, then this is my first time getting it on Blu-ray. But this, Kaiba on Blu-ray, well, I actually already have this on Blu-ray, so this is a duplicate. And let's see. The other one is DVD plus Blu-ray. So I guess I'm going to take this and set it aside. Next we have Project Eiko. This should be Eiko 2. Plot of the Daitokuji financial group. Which again, for a lot of this stuff, I'm a little on autopilot and just mostly guessing that I haven't gotten this on Blu-ray. Maybe I got it on DVD before. Maybe I never got it. I'm just not keeping track of that stuff very well anymore. Audio has English dub. One movie on one disc. Some good old classic. I think 80s character designs. Okay, so it's a reversible cover. And if I reverse it, then it will have a different cover than the slip cover, which is something I'm a big fan of. Now granted, I do like this cover more, but I do like this being underneath that slipcover. Very nice. And then last but not least, Gugure Kokkuri-san Complete Collection. Sentai. Maybe I did already have this. I don't know. Sentai's been doing re-releases of stuff, and it hasn't been a very clear indication that they are re-releases from the product listings themselves, and it requires me to remember how to get this stuff when I do not have it properly categorized anymore. Usually I have to search through my YouTube videos to actually see if I've gotten it right, and that assumes I typed this in correctly, of course. Worst case, I've got another duplicate here. Problem is, I don't recognize the name completely. It maybe looks vaguely familiar, so maybe I have gotten it, but oh well. Here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Okay. Looking at my notes over there, Classroom of the Elite, Season 2, Episode 7. Can I remember exactly what happened in it? That. I guess it's setup stuff. Things I feel is just fine for Classroom of the Elite continuing. But I don't remember anything to specifically talk about. Parallel World Pharmacy, Episode 7. Actually kind of nice, although, you know, Parallel World Pharmacy does have a little bit of a difficulty, I guess, maintaining complete conflict. You know how there's some series for which conflict just seems to not exist in the show? Parallel World Pharmacy isn't quite that, but it does flirt dangerously close with that, I think. I do think interesting stuff does keep happening, though. But do I have anything else to really comment about? Nothing immediately comes to mind. Black Summoner, Episode 8. Or was it Episode 9? I might not have updated my notes there. If I did, then I also didn't update that note. But the latest Black Summoner episode, fine stuff. It feels like it's moving a little quickly with some of the stuff it's doing. And it's interesting because the other one is Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World. And both of those suffer from a problem of there isn't a real direction to the shows. They are kind of meandering. And Black Summoner's been kind of more digestible just because it's been giving you stuff even though it's still meandering. And I kind of feel like they ended the last episode doing something in this episode they've already said, and we're going to already one-up that in this episode itself. And I'm not even entirely sure why, but it just sort of is, and it's doing its thing. And I think the big problem with it is I'm not really quite sure why we're watching it, other than it's just kind of entertaining. Let's see, Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World. I can actually give a more legitimate reason why somebody would be continuing to watch at this point. But it's kind of interesting because, like, the title of the show, it's not even all that mind-boggling a title. But it is a kind of title that you're like, okay, well, I'm expecting certain things about this show. And it's only just now finally getting to the point where it's leaning in a direction to actually do harem building. It hasn't even started it yet. It just started leaning in that direction. Now, again, there is an interesting case to be made that Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World not only gives the horn dogs, a little bit of, to ogle over, but there's something to be said about how it kind of betrays some of its basic premises because it's not even really super isekai-ish. It is a bit of a retiring to another world sort of thing. So that kind of makes it similar to the anime about the guy who was with the hero's party but then was forced to leave and decided to retire in the countryside. But at the same time, that one definitely had some things it was trying to do, and then it went, oh no, we're just doing kind of slice of life in this situation with other non-slice of life stuff sort of in there. Whereas I feel like Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World has stayed
much more calm, relaxed. And if you're into a slice of life where not much happens, like, I think the big thing of this episode is literally building a bathtub. And is this the one where they also did some gardening? Then, you know, that's actually not necessarily a bad thing there. It's just one of those anime where you can kind of tell that people who would have gotten into it for the reasons that it looked like they should be getting into it probably aren't enjoying it as much. Meanwhile, people who would be into some sort of relaxed, retiring in another world sort of scenario are probably running into problems. And the problem is it isn't actually a retiring in another world, and that's why it's about to reach the point where it's like, sounds like he's ready to add more people to the harem. But it's weird. Make of it what you will. Some of this stuff is just like easy to put on in the background and not think about. Uncle from Another World, episode 5 finally aired. You know, there was a couple week break there. Entertaining episode. I think it somehow stays kind of just amusing to watch every once in a while. I think it would be kind of hard to marathon, but for something that you watch like one episode a week, it's kind of funny. You get back to it. It doesn't feel like it's already treading ground. So it's not like one of those anime that are gut-bustingly funny that run out of steam really fast because they only kind of had this core idea for a joke, but didn't really have something that would just, you know, be consistently funny from episode to episode. And that's just a common thing. It's a common problem. If I were writing humor, there'd be the same damn problem. So, you know, Uncle from Another World seems to be, it's not trying to be gut-bustingly funny. It's trying to have little moments like that, but it's trying to stay rather conservative and simple, straightforward with some of the storytelling scenarios it's doing, such that, you know, we, the audience, can appreciate it, even though it is kind of strange, because in a certain way, we're actually getting to see the uncle's adventure in the other world in a really different way, because it's taking place after it has already happened. And so our main characters that are actually living, breathing, engaging characters, that cast of characters is small, but somehow I think it works out because when it plays around with the scenes that happen in there, we see interactions between characters that are kind of recorded from the past in the uncle's time in the other world. So I think it just works out. Funny fifth episode. Other than that, I guess I've just been kind of tempted to rewatch a bunch of various scenes from the regular at Magic High. You know, it was a nice series in its own way, I guess. But I guess putting that aside, let's start talking about other things. I don't think for video games I have much to talk about. There's just been some Dead by Daylight here and there. Or did Wesker get released last week? I think Wesker got released last week. And it was kind of problematic. And this is putting aside, putting aside the bugginess of Wesker's power from people playing Wesker. That does sound very unfortunate. It would be great if something more consistent was there. But I think the real problem is that when it launched, we saw a huge influx of people just playing Wesker. And we're not talking about just, oh yes, this is another release. It was so bad that I think that night, or maybe that day, we played a lot of hours. This was on Tuesday. I think we ended up playing like a dozen matches and getting 2 that were not Wesker and 10 Weskers. And the other problem is, there's a huge influx of people who maybe don't know how to kill play or don't care how to play, aren't real sportsmen, a lot of real assholes playing. Like, they're not playing to have fun. And people may say, oh yeah, well you don't play for the other side to have fun. And I'm like, no, I try to make sure that I'm giving them opportunities if that needs to happen. Not that that's ever needed to happen. There was definitely some not knowing how to outplay him. His 40-meter terror radius is definitely confusing in probably a good and interesting way. But I just feel like on top of that, I think he has just a slight bit too much. Like, I could see somebody saying, oh no, his power doesn't matter because in higher MMR he can rarely if ever hit somebody, and when he does, blah blah blah. In which case, it kind of makes me think that the side effects from his power are a little overpowered. In particular, they're not going to necessarily... I think they're going to be handler for people at higher MMRs, but if they're kind of pointless to people outside of high MMR, then that kind of sounds like a not very well balanced power. And I kind of feel like it is. So, like, if you're the kind of person that's likely to get hit by his power, which, lower down in the MMR tiers you are, probably the more likely it is to happen, in theory. Well, in my experience, if you get hit once and you don't manage to shake them off, you're pretty much guaranteed to reach maximum infection, regardless of the situations of that. Which basically means that you're suffering from both the problems of maximum infection, one of those being that his power becomes absolutely lethal. So if he manages to hit you when you're already fully infected to critical levels, then he just instantly grabs you. Which also becomes much more likely because he's got a pretty relatively big hindered status that applies when it reaches that. And that just makes it where, okay, if somebody has it, they're dead if they get found. Pretty much no matter what. You're not going to be able to make loops and tiles because you're hindered just enough for all that stuff to be pretty pointless. Which basically means having to go out of your way to heal it becomes priority. And there's enough delay there that it feels a bit oppressive. And I'm still waiting to see if it feels any different, but it basically means it's a rough first thing. There were way disproportionate number of people using. Not half the matches, more than half the matches from everything I experienced. I think it's finally died down a little bit now. There's still a lot of them out there, but now it's more like 25% of the matches. It's probably where a less powerful character like Sadako was on her release. Maybe even Artist. So now, a week later, it's better. But, that aside, I played him once, although, I played him once because I needed to at least give him a shot at some point. I tried to do it at a point when stuff maybe had been dying down, and for me, playing as him, my goal was to, my goal being killer is to bring to the killer role things that I enjoy facing other killers, and in that regard, I really, maybe I'm even going too far in that regard, because if everybody did what I did for killer, then I think nobody would be enjoying the game anymore from a competitive perspective. All the competitive-minded people would be disappointed. But instead, I played with this gimmick, because Wesker has a huge terror radius, so I just made it even bigger, gave him Insidious, Tinkerer, and Trails of Torment, so that he had this disappearing, reappearing, enormous terror radius. And then my goal there was just kind of go easy on them, hit people here and there, hook everybody once. And I think some of the people could kind of tell I wasn't completely in it. I know at a minimum the Fang did, because I caught her, and then the Meg... the Meg ended up running into me. I think, again, confused by my terror radius, which was way more enormous than it really has any business being. And because of that, she got found, she got downed. I waited for her on the ground a little bit to make sure somebody would unhook that Fang first. Then I hooked the Meg, tried to get out of the way, went around in a way, the long way around the map. This was Temple of Purgation, so it's a pretty big map. And I went around the outside of the temple to get back to the place where the Fang was hooked, to make sure they weren't just staying on that generator. I needed them to go and unhook that Fang. Not that Fang, the Meg. And they finished that generator and then ran that way. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm not going to pursue you because I need you to unhook that Meg. She decided to try to Kobe on her first hook. She might have even tried to just kill herself outright. I hope not. Because, my goal was, again, to just hook everybody once. At that point, worst case, she would have been harassed a little. The kind of harassment that's good for the survivors. It gives them more blood points because they'll be in chases, they'll get hurt. There's some stuff there that hurts the emblems, but at the same time it gives them a chance to escape chase and then heal, and other people get points and they heal other people, and it's good health for the survivors to have a killer that at least tries like that. But no, the Fang didn't reach the Meg in time, and when I got there to take a look, the Fang was just staring at the hook kind of dejectedly, and I kind of joined her. And again, the player knew that, I wasn't there to push people too hard or anything like that. That wasn't my goal. And somebody dying on hook when I'm there is a sad thing. So, I don't know. That was my one game playing as Wesker, and as you can see, other than that, I think I didn't even hook another person. So I only hooked 3 people once. I didn't hook the 4th person because at that point I didn't want people to not unhook them. They were already slightly spooked, unsure what to think about me. It's just the Fang understood that I wasn't doing that, and so instead we got to do some farming stuff where they got to drop pallets on me and stuff. Hopefully the Bill learned a valuable lesson. Wesker is a killer for which you do not hang out in the exit gates. So there are killers where if you're waiting at the exit gates for the killer to chase you out, it can be a dangerous game to play. So I would probably call Wesker the 4th one, because you have a couple of obvious ones. First of all, Deathslinger is just really obvious because, if you're there injured, or if they have like the right add-ons or perks or whatnot, they can spear you, pull you away from the exit gate, and then hit you. And if they manage to knock you down because of one of a number of reasons, either you're injured or you get exposed and you didn't know it or something like that, then they can down you and then drag you further into the match to hook you. It's dangerous to play that kind of game with a Deathslinger involved. Likewise, both Cenobite and the Twins, if they manage to hit you with their power attack, Cenobite that's hitting with a possessed chain, and Twins that's hitting you with Victor, then the survivor becomes blocked from being able to leave the exit gate, which gives the killer a chance to come up, hit them, and then drag them in and hook them. Wesker's a little similar, where if he manages to hit you with his power, but he slams you against the exit gate, the wall appears, he slams, and if you're injured, you obviously instantly go on the shoulder. If you're not injured, that gate blockage remains there for long enough for him to recover, turn around, kill you, well, knock you down, and then pick you up and drag you in. So I taught, hopefully Bill learned that lesson if he didn't already know it, because while I was farming a bit with the Fang and she was looking for a pallet, I noticed the Bill was still there, and I kind of charged my pallet, or my power wall facing away from him, turned towards him, hit him, grabbed him, while he was at the exit gate, and then I put him down on the ground. So hopefully he knew that's me saying, this is why you don't do that. Wesker is dangerous. And I didn't even have any add-ons, so a Wesker with add-ons, anything that reduces the distance of his M2, that would make it even worse. So, things to keep in mind. Outside of that, let's see. Rick and Morty Season 6 started this weekend. I did watch the first episode. It was a nice first episode. Obviously not as mind-blowing as the end of Season 5, but goddamn, how can you get... that's a big act to follow. And I think this was a decent act to follow. It basically followed up on certain threads that were in place, not only from the end of that episode, but stuff that was revealed during that episode and stuff that happened in older seasons. Maybe a little bit of audience reflection there in terms of preferences for certain characters to be seen more, maybe. And we'll have to see what Season 6 gives. My hope is that it doesn't go everything has to be over the top. But of course, when you don't do that, then you have to come up with something simple and really over the top. And Rick and Morty kind of has to juggle that a whole lot. But, we'll see how Season 6 goes. Off to a good start. And my Twitch streaming friend finally started Stranger Things Season 4. And I did convince him to get through the first 4 episodes. So if you can, if you have to break it up, if you can watch all of the first 4 episodes, that's a good breaking up point. The first 4 episodes, then the next 3 episodes, and the last 2 episodes. 4, 3, 2. Right, and that's a total of 9 for all 9 episodes. there's a little disproportionality in terms of how the time is distributed, but at the same time, I think it should hit all the big, major, important checking points, where if you reach each one, I think you're guaranteed to go to the next one. Which might not be saying much, because giving entire 4 episodes to a series, you're already invested. But that said, I think the weakest element of Stranger Things Season 4 is something that needed to happen, and they handled it as best as they could. Namely, they need to deal with the problem that Elle as a character has been... they've really needed an opportunity to really grow. Like, you kind of had these sort of teen romance drama growth sort of stuff, which is probably okay for people into that, but overall it's kind of not what they needed to do with the character, because, you know, the romance element wasn't supposed to be the main draw to it, and so people who got into it probably weren't into it as much. And maybe this is also why some people enjoyed seasons 2 and 3 more, because it did introduce more elements like that. Good for them. I'm curious what they think of season 4, but as far as I can tell, with season 4, they've established, okay, we need to make sure we establish very strongly that our character Elle is not in a good place. And this shouldn't be a, ha ha ha, these kids are just being kids sort of low place. They have to establish she's in a low place. And they give a couple of things there that are really good for it. Things that just make it hard for her to adjust to stuff. And it's hard to watch, but I appreciate it because it sets up the appropriate stuff that this season needs to do, which is, you know, again, to not just have her be some character that's like, oh yeah, Elle's gonna come here and save everything. You know, even we, the audience, need to not feel that. So we need it to be a hero's journey of sort for her. And I think they did a really good job with the theming, and some of the stuff that's hard to watch of her builds into that theming. And it's overall a good job, a good setup for what's going to happen after episode 4. Within the contents of these 4 episodes, again, they just do a better job with all the characters. Everything all the characters are supposed to do, they're being set up to do those better. So, like, if we take Mike, the main kid. I say main kid. He's like the Elliot from E.T. You know, he's not the only kid that this is involved with, but he's the one through which kind of the most important focal, who's the hero, who's the story about lens, is kind of supposed to be about. And, you know, season 1 was really great for that because, you know, it was about him and Elle. They were that critical element there. But the him and Elle part has just been kind of weird for seasons 2 and 3. To the point where it's just like not thought about. But season 4 is using him correctly for that stuff. Like, he isn't someone who's the most important person that things happen around, but, you know, there's this real emphasis on what his character, who otherwise has no purpose, is supposed to be doing here. Let's see. Will is actually performing a really good job as a third wheel, which is actually good from a storytelling perspective just because that's where he's supposed to be. He's the odd man out of the odd men. I did notice that they were giving some more hints as to him being homosexual. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that sort of thing, if that is really the case, because that's very dangerous, just because historically shows that tend to want to do that sort of thing tend to forget what it means to make a show fun. They get preachy and telling people about things as if the show's better than people watching, and then that makes anybody who doesn't give a rat's ass about this stuff just roll their eyes. Like I mentioned before, like the revelation in season 3 that Robin was into girls. To me, that never felt like much, because even though the show kept trying to push this Steve and Robin angle, I just never saw them other than two good buddies. So the twist on that angle didn't work. The conversations they started having after that reveal were actually pretty damn great. And the banter in season 4 is properly banter. And I mentioned this before when I watched it the first time, but I appreciate so much how better written Robin is. I mean, she was a good character in season 3, but she also had some horrible writing. There was just horrible writing all over season 3 that just dragged a lot of characters down. And for Robin, it was, oh yes, make her a little smarmy and kind of talking down to people like she's better than people-ish. And then, have her be, oh, she's the one that figures this out. And she doesn't figure everything out, but it's enough that it's just kind of obvious. But in season 4, she's just an idiot. But that's what's good, because everybody else in our group, they're just a bunch of idiots. She's now one of the idiots. She now feels like one of the people. I'm glad that her character was rescued. Max, I could kind of see what they did better. So, like, one of the big problems with season 3 is, Billy was related to the events going on, and so Max's relationship with Billy would have been good, except that they've resolved that in season 2. So Max's relevance to the story wasn't quite there. Now, in season 4, Max really does feel like she's a character. She's handling things in her way that she does, but they're more relevant to the story now. Now it's more... the fact that Max is there is important. In fact, I can't think of any character that's in there for which that isn't the case. A lot of the characters drive things forward in a way that feels like they're the character that should be doing that. And that's really great. I'm trying to think if I have good commentary on Dustin and Lucas, because Lucas is definitely being a lot better used here. Like, I think he always kind of had a trepidatious presence in the series. Nothing outright bad. Like, I think in the first season, yeah, he was kind of their contradictory guy to say, why are we doing this? And the nice thing was, it's not like he was completely wrong either. It's not like Mike was completely wrong. No, it was kind of a hard call for a whole lot of stuff, and he was kind of a voice for caution, I suppose, while still being a main member of the group. And season 2, because it just threw this whole dynamic of, oh, well, Max is going to get together with somebody. Well, it's just, oh, there's a girl, and who's she going to go get with? From a perspective of, oh, and there's some interdimensional being trying to take over the world. Who the fuck cares about any of that shit, right? So, let's see, season 3. Why am I having trouble remembering what he was like in season 3? I guess because it was just all the teen romance drama stuff, whereas season 4 is kind of addressing some of the issues with the group there, but at the same time, it really is driving what needs to happen. And Dustin's always been your idea guy. Is that right? I'm blanking right now, because he still feels really good in this series. But again, oh, and then there's, of course, Erica, Lucas's younger sister, who, she's definitely a lot nicer now. Especially, I kind of remembered her being really snarky and smarmy and all that stuff in season 3. Rewatching it, it was pretty bad. She has that in season 4, but it's toned down so that it's just the neat thing she does. And that's the same thing with Max. Max still has some of that smarm as well. She doesn't talk smack back to people, but she, she still kind of is, blanking on the word. And that's kind of the thing. Like, even with the new character Argyle, they kind of understood better. You don't lean on these characters being that character trait and then, okay, let's just do that a whole lot. You find out how much you can get away with that the audience can take. And that's why, even though Argyle maybe interrupts some of the ideas of what's going on, he does so in a way that's refreshing. Even Max's snarky sarcasm, oh, you're being sarcastic, aren't you? That was funny instead of just mean-spirited. So it's a much better balance. All in all, very good. I'm seeing a bit more of just why season 4 really is a lot better. And having rewatched these episodes after season 1, it's hard to say, because season 1 they both have very different strengths. Season 1 has This is a singular story being told, and even though there's a couple of different threads to it, they all feel tied together to it really well, and it feels like it's focused on that. Season 4 still almost feels like a different show, but it is put so well together. You fall in love with the characters you are supposed to fall in love with. You get scared for the characters that you're supposed to get scared for. It works really well. So, you know, off to a good start. Even though I already knew it probably would be. But it was interesting to see what my thoughts would be rewatching these 4 episodes after rewatching all these previous episodes. Good stuff. Alright. So other than that, I'm not sure what we can expect this week. I'm on PTO. But my Friday was a little bit of a disaster. I accidentally spilled my water on my work laptop. And I've taken it in, and I guess technically it's Tuesday right now. So later today I'm going to, you know, sleep and then wake up, and then I'm going to get dressed, head into the office, and we'll find out how good it is. Hopefully I wiped it off, shut it off, all that stuff in time such that nothing was damaged. Or if there was something damaged, it was something that's super easily replaced. Even if it is something that's not super easily replaced, if I can take it home and start properly backing up some of the stuff that's on there, oh God, I mentioned this on Friday, but if the computer was completely gone, I'd almost feel like giving up. Just saying, why am I still here? I now no longer have years and years and years worth of notes and SQL queries and bookmarks and tabs. I'll no longer be able to keep up with it. I no longer have the same APO I had. We had a going away party for her last week. So, you know, there's going to be an interesting transition for the current APO who's been at some of the meetings, but I don't know if a proper handover happened. So, crazy stuff. But I'm still going to sleep in. So don't worry about me going into the office as an, oh, you're shortchanging his PTO. The most important thing is I get to sleep in and relax. And even though I'll be driving to the office, it's a 5-10 minute drive from here. So, and I don't have to get on any major highways. I'm going to still encounter assholes in that short little thing. You know, that's just the nature of drivers around here. But it should work out. And maybe I'll plan that out. Sorry, excuse me. Here I am yawning, and now all of y'all are probably yawning. Sorry about that. Let me end this before I incur any more worldwide yawning sprees. Or America only. Y'all, have a nice week.